Hello there. My name is Jasom Jensai, and welcome to this stream. In this stream, we're going to be going over three topics. We're going to be talking about Mandalorian Chapter 10. We're going to be talking about the top 10 aliens in Star Wars, my top 10 favorites, and the third topic is how powerful is Darth Sidious. Spoilers, pretty powerful, but how powerful compared to some other people, and just going over a bunch of his feats. But before we get to all that, it's time for the question of the stream. The question of the stream is, who are the two captains of the First Order? So, basically, the question of the stream, if you answer the question correctly on your first try and you're the first one and you didn't look it up or anything, then you get 10 points. So far, no one, to my knowledge, has gotten the answers right and commented about it. Or chat, if you're watching live, you have an opportunity to guess before anyone else. To my knowledge, no one has commented on the other streams either. So you could go back to those ones. I've got the playlist in the description, starting in my 5th stream and going all the way up to this current one. You could get a bunch of points. Pretty much, I mean, some of the questions are kind of hard. Like this one is probably hard. It'll probably take a while for someone to get this one. But if you know it, leave a chat. If you don't know it, you could guess. I don't know if you'd get the second one, but you could do it. But that's not the main topic. The main topic is, well, one of the main topics is the Mandalorian Chapter 10. So this is basically like a review, what I thought about it, and hopefully what you thought about it through the chat and through comments as well. Leave your thoughts there. Just overall, honestly, I gotta say I didn't like this episode. It sucks. Like, Chapter 4 wasn't the best, but I liked it. Chapter 5 was a little bit better. Still not the best, but I still liked it. This one, I enjoyed it a bit, but like there were some moments where I was like, is this almost done? And I don't want to feel that when I'm watching a Star Wars story. I don't know. I think it's because nothing really major happened. And I don't know. Nothing interesting or character changing or plot changing really happened in this episode. It was cool to see. Here, I'll go over some things that were cool. Oh, well, pretty much the entire beginning. The like intro was cool. They had good action, good comedy. Exactly what you would expect to happen if someone pulled the rope up right before Mando. He used his jetpack, and then he got attacked. He beat them. He used his grappler to grab the biggest gun for the third time in the season. Not the season. First time in the season. Third time throughout all of it. That's like one of his best tactics. Episode 1 or Chapter 1 and Chapter 8 he does it. Now he does it again. Although it was a bit different this time. I don't know. I like seeing the tactics of characters, as I'm sure you can guess from my other content. But anyways, that whole scene was good, and of course the comedy there was also good, with the jetpack, and seeing how he controls it with his wrist thing. That was also cool to see that he can control it remotely. That's actually really cool. I didn't think of that before. He can control his jetpack remotely. Oh, that's cool. There's probably a cool thing he could do with that. Yeah. That entire thing was good. After that, they went back to the cantina, and the one lady was there. I don't remember her name. I should probably look it up so I can remember it. But that I liked her in the last episode and a little bit in the 5th one, but some of her comments this time didn't work as much. Some of them were great. Like it's the one where she asked him to like cover his bet or whatever, and it's like a super high price or something. And she's like, well, quit crying, you'll rust. And the quit crying part, that didn't really land for me. But you'll rust was pretty funny because he's always wearing metal. um, what else? I don't remember anyone's offhand, but there were some. Um, some that weren't that cool. And Frog Lady, I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of weird. The two kind of cancel out. I don't really mind, but she's not that interesting to me. Um, it was. I don't know what to think about Baby Yoda's obsession with eating her eggs. It's kind of cute. It's kind of funny. It's kind of dark, and it's kind of boring. I like. I don't know. It's. I don't know what to think. What do you guys think of that? Is it like the cutest thing ever? Is it the funniest thing ever? Is it like the darkest thing ever? Um, or is it like just meh? It's not that interesting that he eats eggs. Um, yeah. But right after that, when they take the nap, I thought it was really cool that Baby Yoda has a hammock. That was just cool to see. It's those details that I like in this episode. Another detail I liked was the design for the spiders. Um, as many Star Wars YouTubers have pointed out, it's originally from a concept art by Ralph McQuarrie, that guy. But what it reminded me of, and I'm pretty sure it reminded some other people too, is those spiders from Rebels, which I think were also based off of that art from Ralph McQuarrie. So I think in universe they're probably not the same as those, because I mean they have like a much wider range of sizes. They seem to have different strategies and weaknesses. But I think they're like relatives, kind of like how a tiger is to a lion. Like not the same species, but very similar species. Um, anyways, their not only was their design very well done, but also their just that entire scene was very tense and terrifying, I guess. Um, yeah, it was a good action scene. Mando should have used his flamethrower more. I want to see him use that like super flamethrower. Um, I don't know. He like activated his flamethrower for like a second, then they cut to not directly see him, but he's like around the corner, and then you see a giant burst of flame, and he runs away. I want to see that like see it, not just see the giant burst of flame reflected off the ice. I want to see that directly. And I kind of want to know how that works too, because I don't really see how that would make sense that you let the flame run longer and it makes a brighter flame. But oh well, it doesn't necessarily have to make sense. I don't know. I'd like to see it. Um, it was cool. And then later on the door when he's just shooting them, and then some get through, and then he just like uses his flamethrower and it's problem solved. Because I mean, flamethrowers are good for they have a problem with range. That's probably the biggest problem, and the other problem is the damage they do. It isn't quite as focused. So a lot of not a lot of things. Some things might be able to resist it, whereas they might not be able to resist a blaster bolt. Like the Mudhorn, flamethrowering the Mudhorn would be a terrible idea, but using your blaster would probably work a little bit better. Maybe it wouldn't kill him instantly, even if you got a good shot, but it would probably work better. So, yeah, I mean, flamethrower is not perfect, but in this situation, it's very good because it has a problem with the range and damage, but it's really good at like spread attacks. It can hit a lot of things at once, and also it's very quick to use. It's like you just punch your fist out and boom, jets of flame. It's not like you have to point, aim, and shoot. So flamethrower obviously the best weapon in this case. Although he did think of using his bombs, which I didn't think of. So there is that. And those worked very well, especially against the like giant one, which was starting to become a problem. And bombs took it out of the fight up until just the last moment, which was kind of sad. But then the New Republic came in, what are the, I can't enunciate. The New Republic came in. And they kind of just shot at spiders and took them all out super easily. That's the only problem I have with them coming in, but that scene was pretty cool, other than the fact that they took out the spiders a lot easier than they should have. In fact, it kind of seemed like most of the spiders ran away, maybe when their, like, giant one died. But then again, the giant one was hit by a bunch of bombs and they didn't seem to react. If anything, they attacked more, but I don't know. Oh well. Yeah. And then the other thing is the Razor Crest broke again, which it was different than in Chapter 2, where he didn't have his parts. And it was worse than in Chapter 5 when he just needed a little bit of repairs. So, I don't know. I don't know if I wanted to see the Razor Crest break again, but I guess it's fine. It doesn't matter that much. Maybe if I really liked the episode, I would focus more on if the Razor Crest broke. But I mean, I don't want to focus on the negatives too much when I already don't like the episode. So it's a good episode, but definitely not my favorite. My least favorite episode. What do you think? Do you agree? Did you love the episode? I mean, I haven't heard anyone say they love the episode yet. But if you do, that's totally fine, and I'd love to hear why in the chat or the comments. So let me know what you thought of Mandalorian Chapter 10. Let's move on to the next thing, which is my top 10 favorite aliens in Star Wars. So this is exactly what it seems. It's a list of my favorite aliens, and I'm going to start at number 10, my 10th favorite. And just so you guys know, my list could easily change in between now and, like, whenever time you ask me next. If you ask next. Like, this isn't like a concrete set in stone. These are my top 10 favorites. Like, 10 and 11 are pretty much interchangeable. 10, 9, 8, maybe not 8. 8's pretty cool. 7 and 8, 6 and 7, even 6 and 8 are kind of interchangeable. Actually, I'm going to make a change to the list I wrote yesterday. So that shows how easily things can change with this list. I'm going to put those down there. Yep, that's going to happen. There it is. Boom. Or should I move those too? I should move those down there too. Maybe not there. I'll put them there. Yep, okay. So, some changes to the list, even though it's only been a day. Just goes to show the point that I've been making. So, with that out of the way, let's get on to number 10, which is... Actually, I'm making a switch again. Number 10 is going to change with number 9. Number 10 right now is Powins. I really should have gotten a bunch of pictures. Oh well. Powins, for those of you who don't know, are native to Utapau, the place where Obi-Wan and General Grievous fought. They're the, like, people that go and talk to him when he lands his ship. The thousands of battle droids people. Those guys with, like, the crooked teeth and, like, the like white skin that has, like, lines going up it, and I think they have, like, red eyes or something. Let me look up a picture so I can describe them better. Yeah, and the Grand Inquisitor was a Powin. Yeah, so they don't have, like, red eyes. They have, like, maroon, like, around their eyes, and it, like, leaks down and, like, kind of, like, dripping down from their eyes. Not, like, dripping, but, like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. And it appears the Grand Inquisitor also has tattoos. Or is that maybe just a different kind? I don't know. It's hard to tell because it's animated. Maybe he got tattoos over his, like, red coloring. And also added other tattoos. I don't know. But yeah, Powins, I don't know. They just look cool. They're kind of, like, tall and spindly with their... I guess Their crooked teeth is a bit weird. Um, but I don't know. That's the only thing I don't like about them. They have cool, interesting colored skin. They're kind of scary. Um, but yeah, and then yeah, I don't know that much about them. They're number 10. So I can't explain why I like them as much as I can explain the other ones, but they are pretty cool. So, what do you think of Powans, and what are your favorite aliens? And with that, let's move on to number 9, which is the Basilisk. And the Basilisk are like Dexter and Krell. For those of you who saw my Ahsoka versus Pong Krell video, Pong Krell's that four-armed guy. And Dexter Jetster, the guy that Obi-Wan meets with, is also a Basilisk. They've got like four arms, kind of muscular, well, really muscular, giant like chins, like they kind of look like they have fat all over their chin. It's not, is it fat? It might be fat. I don't know. And they've got like, I don't know. The top of their head is like armored, or I don't know if it's armored, but it looks armored. It's like a hard carapace. Yeah, they got like brownish skin, kind of nasty, but I don't know. Maybe we look nasty to them. We probably do. So yeah, Basilisks again. They just look cool, but also they've got the functionality of four arms, and they are generally, I don't know. They just carry themselves, not like a warrior, not like a warrior, but like as though they are confident in themselves. I don't know. They're just cool. Again, much like the Powans, there's not much reasoning other than I just think they are cool because they're not like near the top of my list. But anyways, the next one on my list is the Caminones, and just like the Powans, they they're like tall and spindly. But the Caminones, it's not just how they look. If I was just going based on looks, they wouldn't be the top. But it's also that they're like cloning technology is interesting. And also their demeanor is, I don't know what it is about their demeanor. It's just like so calm and uncaring. It's interesting. And their architecture is also very cool. Um, Maybe not. Well, yeah, I think cool is the right word. It's very like clean and sleek, much like them. So, yeah, Powans pretty cool. Um, cool culture, cool architecture, cool bodies, I guess. Um, yeah. Next up is the Zabrak. And this is a lot of people's favorite for obvious reasons. They're awesome. Pretty much all of them. Of course, Darth Maul is the biggest example of a Zabrak. A Dathomirian Zabrak. But there's also Zabraks from, I think it's Iridonia. I'm looking it up. Yeah, Iridonia. Yeah, and they're like more brown, rather than the Dathomirian Zabraks, which have like black tattoos and red, orange, and yellow skin. I like Dathomirian Zabraks better. It's just a cooler contrast. The black and fire color compared to just brown and nothing else. It's a cooler contrast, and it just makes them seem more vicious and menacing, and just alien. Their uniqueness is part of the reason that they're cool, but also it's the reason why Zabraks look cool is because they're very similar to humans, but they've got like spikes all over their head, and it just gives them this like vicious feel. But it's not just like their looks; it's also their demeanor and their actions. Pretty much all the Zabraks are just really good, like warriors. Like, they're either bounty hunters or a Sith or powerful Jedi, or, well, I guess there's some that are just serving the Night Sisters. But even that, it's like most of them are warriors. At least most of the ones we've seen. So Zabraks are pretty cool. I don't know if I'd want to be friends with most Zabraks, but they're cool to watch in movies and stuff. Next up on this list is Nautiloons. And Nautiloons are like Kit Fisto. And I don't really want to try and explain what Nautiloons look like, because they're kind of weird looking, but they're also kind of human-like. And you guys know what Kit Fisto looks like, and you guys know he looks awesome. Speaking of Kit Fisto, he's probably the reason that Nautiloons are so high on this list. I generally, it's not that I don't like water, but I feel like other people like water stuff more than me. So they're aquatic. That's interesting. Doesn't really put them high on this list for me. But what I like about them is like their green skin. Green skin is just cool. I don't know. And their head tentacles, which just look awesome, especially in the water. With like their tentacles like flowing out around, like kind of like a squid. It looks pretty cool. And just they're also kind of rare, so you get a bit of uniqueness whenever you see a Nautilin. Like that Jedi Apprentice in the Clone Wars episode, where Ahsoka's getting a whole bunch, like, basically guiding a bunch of younglings to get their kyber crystals. And we see an Nautilin, and it's pretty cool, because it's like, well, we don't see those very often. We've seen Kit Fisto, that guy, and I can't think of any other ones in canon. Obviously, there's a whole bunch in Legends, but that's pretty much all the canon ones I can think of. Yeah, so every time we see them, it's pretty cool, because there's not many of them. Which is actually kind of true for most of them on this list. Not all, but a lot of them. Doesn't quite apply to this next one, which is Tuscan Raiders. And these wouldn't have even crossed my mind like 2 weeks ago. Well, not 2 weeks ago. It'd be 2 weeks ago. I don't know. They've always interested me, but I didn't really notice it until the chapter 9 of The Mandalorian came out, the first episode of the second season, with Tuscan Raiders in Freetown, or what do they call it? Mos Pelgo. Anyways, it's just, I don't know, something about their mysterious culture, because clearly they're not human, but they're not like the savages that everyone thinks they are, as Mando demonstrates, but, like, they have dogs. If they've got well, not literally dogs, they have like they have a replacement for dogs, which of course means that they're probably one of the nicest creature or species in Star Wars. Because do you see other dogs in Star Wars? Mostly no. I mean, you see what are they called? Cayuso or something? Embo, the bounty hunter. Let me look that up. He's got a dog. But yeah, Cayuso. He's got a dog, but Tuscan Raiders are pretty much the only ones who have dogs, which probably means they're the nicest. But despite that, everyone seems to think that they're wild savages, except for Mando, who I'm pretty sure has spent a significant time just with Tuscan Raiders, which would explain why he tells, what's the guy's name? Gore or something? From who he gets the information that Cobb Vanth is on Tatooine and Mos Pelgo. That guy, he tells him he's spent much time on Tatooine. He tells the bounty hunter in Chapter 5 that Tuscan Raiders think that they're the natives and everyone else is trespassing, kind of pointing out the other side of the argument, to the other side being the, humans and normal species, the people that technically aren't native to Tatooine, and then the Tuscan Raiders. Um, and then, of course, in Chapter 9, we get to see a lot of it, where he convinces Cobb Vanth that they should work together with the Tuscans, and he knows their language, he knows how to communicate with their dogs, which again, they have dogs, they must be very nice people. Um, and of course, he gives that speech that kind of demonstrates that he knows those people. They are raiders, but they also live in a harsh environment, and that is why they have to be raiders. So that's all I got to say about Tuscan Raiders. Just super interesting and mysterious. I'd love to know more about them, and I think we will with the Mandalorian. I think we'll see a bunch more of that. But moving on to the next one. The next one I have is, where is it? Devaronians. So, Devaronians are pretty cool. Obviously, we see the first one all the way back in A New Hope, and I don't think we see another one. There might be some time in like the background somewhere, but I don't think we see another one until all the way in The Mandalorian. So like 42 years? Or was it 43 or 41? Somewhere around there. Over 40 years between the first appearance and the second appearance. But the second appearance was super cool. We got to see that they're strong. They don't have much personality. They like big things, which I'm sure Thrawn would totally just decimate them if they had a fleet. Well, I mean, maybe Berg's not the brightest example of a Devaronian. We do read of one in a book in, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but it's the story where, it's the sequel to the Phasma book, where Cardinal and Vi Marati go to Batu. I forget what it's called. But anyways, in that book, one of the characters, he knew a Devaronian, and that person was killed by the First Order. So, I mean, I guess they could be a little bit different, but from everything I've heard about Devaronians, they're pretty much like Berg. And I mean, they look like they would act like that. And also, they're fireproof. That didn't cross my mind, but when I saw Berg getting his face shot by flames, then he just laughs. That was a good moment for me. Yeah, Devaronians are just cool. I'd like to see more of them. The next one on this list is Wookies. Very similar to Devaronians. Big, strong, but this time they're furry. And more than just their look, for Wookiees specifically, is their language is cool actually too. I didn't even think that until just a second ago, but the way they communicate just sounds super cool, and it's unique that, well, I suppose not really unique, but it's interesting, and Wookiees are the first ones to introduce this. Well, actually, technically, that one guy, I don't know what species he is, but actually, in the picture I have up right now, he's in the front on the right, that guy. He can't speak basic, not because he doesn't know it, but because his like vocal cords and lips and all that can't make those noises, just like Wookiee. So he might technically be the first person who couldn't speak basic, because of that. But Wookiees are probably the ones most known for it. The growl is so iconic. It's great. But other than that, their looks are cool. But their history is also cool. With the Battle of Kashyyyk, otherwise known as the droid attack on the Wookiees, and then the Empire taking over, and not like in the Aftermath book, Life Debt, that whole section about them freeing Kashyyyk from the Empire was cool. I think it'd be cool to have a Wookiee as a friend. Yeah. I'm sure you like Wookiees too. and you can tell me all about it in the chat if you want to use the chat. Or in the comments if comments are your thing. And that would be to those of you not watching live. Thank you for doing that, by the way. I probably don't say this enough, but I really appreciate it when you guys watch my videos. Obviously, right now I've got school and I'm not working on my videos as much as I did in the summer. Some of you are still watching, and it's pretty cool. And some of you new who didn't, who only found my channel recently are probably watching. And I want to thank you too, because I don't know. Well, I do know. It's because I want more views so I can do this full time. But it's hard to articulate how much I enjoy making these videos and how much I would like to basically like discuss Star Wars with you. Cool. So with that, leave a comment, leave a like too, subscribe if you're not, all that stuff. But mostly just leave a comment, because that's what I want to discuss Star Wars. That's why one of the reasons I made this channel. So anyways, with that slightly heavier topic, moving on back to the top 10 aliens. That was a weird transition. Favorite. And if you weren't counting, Wookiees were my third favorite, at least right now. Actually, I might have just changed that in my head. Oh well. They're my third favorite. Officially for this video, I will stand by that. They're pretty cool. But my second favorite is... Actually, you know what? Let's do some honorable mentions before I do my second favorite. I'm sure you're all dying to know what my second favorite is. Actually, probably not. You probably want to tell me yours in the comments. Some honorable mentions are Weequay, like the pirate people. Well, they're mostly pirates. So Hondo Wanaka, that sort of people. They're pretty cool, and I don't know. I just like them. They're tough, they're piratey, and Hondo Wanaka is great. So, but when we do, it's like, oh look, that's Plo Koon's species. And Pantorans also. Blue skin, just pretty cool. Hint hint, I wonder what my favorite one is. Not Duros, sorry. Although Duros are pretty cool. I don't know if they'd be top 10 or 15, but they're pretty cool. Cad Bane, of course, is a great character. So, yeah. Those are my honorable mentions. I cannot say that word, apparently. But moving on, my second favorite species, I think it's sentient species, is the Purgles, otherwise known as the space whales. I don't know, they're just super interesting. They can go into hyperspace. They can take out like mythical beasts called chimeras, or well, a ship called the Chimera, I guess. Oh well. Yeah, they're just cool, and I liked how they included them in the last episode of Rebels. It was like a reference to, was it season 3, season 2, somewhere around there. A reference to an earlier episode where we met a bunch of Purgles, and we saw how awesome they were. So, yeah. And also that's also a reference to Ezra's first powerful use of the Force and his first use of the dark side when he like used those like weird dog things against the Inquisitor. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's in, I don't remember what episode. It's pretty much one of the first times they fight the Inquisitor. Maybe second or so. I don't know. But it's a pretty cool scene. And just beast control has been one of Ezra's things ever since then. He even did a bit of like beast control type stuff on a human in the first episode of season 2, I think, or season 3. Yeah, it must have been season 3. Yeah, against that Walker guy. Again, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's a thing. So there's that. That's where I am. Purgles. Purgles are awesome. You should, I don't know, draw some Purgles so I can use them in thumbnails because they have like no Purgle art on Google. I don't know. Maybe there's some, and I should probably pay for art, but I don't have money, and it's free on Google. Oh boy, I should probably edit that out. Anyways, yeah, Purgles are awesome. They go into hyperspace, and they're just space whales. Such a cool idea. Wow, I would love to be a Purgle. Or am I a Purgle? Moving on to number 1, my favorite. This is probably a lot of people's favorite, but that doesn't change whether it's my favorite. My favorite Star Wars species is the Chiss. If you don't know what a Chiss is, watch Rebels, read the Thrawn trilogy, the canon one or the Legends one. I haven't read the Legends one, but I've heard it's good. Read the new Thrawn book, which, by the way, I got this morning, and I might have that as one of my topics this next live stream. So if you're interested in that, subscribe and watch my next stream. And watch it live Saturday evening so that you can leave your input in the chat. And even if you don't watch it live, remember, you can always leave your input through a comment. But anyways, Chiss are just so cool. So I think what I like about them is their mysteriousness is a big one. Let's be honest, what I like about them is Thrawn. A lot of them are really good tacticians, but Thrawn, of course, is the best example. And especially how he uses art to analyze tactics, that kind of just makes sense to me. And I don't know, it just works in my opinion. It's a cool thing that a bad guy can do. Not necessarily a bad guy, because he's kind of like in the middle. Not in the middle. He's kind of just, he's not evil, but he's fighting against the heroes. He's an antagonist, but not a bad guy, if that makes sense. So, yeah, Thrawn is super cool, and he's, of course, a great ambassador for his species, the Chiss, out in the unknown regions doing mysterious things, which I'm actually learning quite a bit about the Chiss, their culture and homework training in the new book. A surprising amount. I don't know, maybe by the end I won't be able to say they're mysterious anymore, but I'll still probably like them, because Chiss are awesome. What are your favorite aliens? Those are mine: Basilisk, Powin, Zabraks, Tuscan Raiders, Deveronians, Caminones, Nautolins, Wookies, Purgils, and Chiss. So, what are your top 10 aliens? Why don't you tell me in the chat, or in the comments? Let's move on to the next segment, which is how powerful is Darth Sidious? And by the way, I love this picture here. It's super awesome. Like author listed. But anyways, this kind of just shows Sidious is extremely powerful. Look at all that lightning and fire and all that. But we don't just have this to rely on. We also have like a ton of information. We've got duels, we've got politics, we've got like literally coming back from the dead, problems. If you can hear me, leave something in the chat. Live, I mean, each one of them. There must be another one. I don't know. Let's see what I can figure out. Yes? underrating him, in my opinion. I think that everyone just overrates him. Just a brute. But he is somewhat of just a big muscle guy. He even tells Maul, "I'm not like you. I never was." He didn't get his powers the same way. He didn't get his powers naturally. I think that's a big reason why he is held back. But then again, that also gives him power. He has a lot more strength than normal. Sidious is not quite as strong, but strong enough to deal with him. Excuse me. I had to sneeze. Yeah, so Sidious, I don't remember at one point, and I'm only 95% certain of this, but at one point he gets in a blade lock sort of thing with Savage. He wasn't like matching him, but he wasn't like getting crushed. Like when Dooku got hit by Savage, he flew halfway across the room and got disarmed. Sidious was able to deal with it though. So that shows he's got strength. Probably not his most impressive aspect of him is his strength, but he has an impressive amount. But more impressive is his speed, which he demonstrates when he takes on, of course, Maul and Savage, but also when he takes on Yoda and Windu, and just so many that we probably don't even see. Probably not quite as powerful as those two, specifically Yoda. But in terms of just dueling ability, he's fast, he's skilled. Maybe not the most endurance. He does have a pretty long fight with Savage and Maul, but that probably wasn't. He probably wasn't going all out the entire time. So he's got decent endurance. We don't really see him ever test his endurance, which kind of shows how much endurance he has, but also just that we haven't really seen him in a long fight. Like Obi-Wan and Anakin, they've got a ton of endurance, and we know that because just a brutal, like super long, super intense, and a hot, so tired. They've got a ton of endurance. Sidious probably does, but we can't tell for sure. What about he never gives us a chance? That just again shows how powerful he is. Well, I guess technically we see his toughness against Windu when he's getting his face burned off, or so people say. I don't know if that's what was really happening there. Lightning bouncing back just doesn't make sense to me. I'll probably do a video on that sometime, or make that a segment or something of a live stream. But anyways, yeah, we see him like getting burned and stuff. Yeah, like one of the big problems I have with that is electrical burns don't really make your face look like that. That's something else. That's the dark side, not electricity. But then again, force lightning isn't really, it doesn't really act like electricity, like at all. So, I mean, the reaction people get when they get hit by it is like electricity, except for Sidious. For some reason, he seemed more like he was getting like old and burned, like he was smoking, and he was like aging extremely fast. I don't know. I'll have to look more into that and do a video or a live stream segment about it. But we don't really see that much about his toughness. I would assume he's pretty tough, at least mentally, maybe not physically. Oh, and there's a comic where he gets some poison, and he uses like the dark side to keep going. One thing to note about his toughness is he trained Darth Maul, who survived getting cut in half. So that doesn't mean he can survive getting cut in half, but it's some evidence to say that he has some techniques for improving his toughness, for keeping himself alive and keeping himself, just focused on moving and getting stuff done. So, yeah, Darth Sidious, extremely tough, extremely fast, skilled. Of course, endurance is probably a big thing for him, and strength, surprisingly strong. Especially seeing how skinny he is in the Clone Wars. He's like a 4 twigs and, well, 4 twigs and a fifth twig. It's kind of funny. But that's just the beginning. Because Darth Sidious, as you can tell from this here picture, is not primarily a lightsaber duelist. He is primarily a Force duelist. Well, not even that. Very powerful as a Force duelist. He's got, extremely good telekinesis. Probably at least in a similar range. He was able to throw Senate pods back and forth, although he did have the high ground, meaning he had gravity on his side. So maybe he's not quite as strong as Master Yoda, but at least his tactics are better. He had the high ground, gravity's helping with that. So Force throwing, pretty strong. Obviously his Force attunement, his feeling of his surroundings is extremely good. He was very sure. I would assume that at least somewhat applies to his near future sight. He's more specialized for future sight, and he's slightly above average for near future sight, whereas someone like Anakin is just good at both. At least naturally. Would Sidious have better reflexes? I don't know. Anakin's got really good reflexes. It'd be interesting to see Palpatine fly a starfighter. Definitely wouldn't want to see that, like in canon. But it'd be cool to see, like, what if Darth Sidious was a starfighter pilot and fought against, I don't know, like, Snapwex. Well, not Snapwex. Let's do, what's that guy? I'd like to see that battle. Or even Darth Sidious and 10 TIE fighters versus, and Darth Sidious isn't like a TIE interceptor, versus, say, you see 10 and a Jedi interceptor and 10 Arc 170s. That'd be a cool battle to see. What do you think of that? Would that be cool? Would you want to see Palpatine fly a starfighter in canon? Would that just seem just the worst to you? I don't know. Let me know in the chat or in the comments. Anyways, and that's even without mentioning his most potent ability, which is, of course, Force Lightning. Darth Sidious, as I see it, is the Dooku can kill people pretty quick with Force Lightning, the example being Ventress. He can torture people, just cause them excruciating pain, but Sidious is even more good at that. That's an eloquent way of saying it. Sidious is even more good at that, at Force Lightninging things with Force Lightning. Like, I would not want to face this man. He's very quick with it. He hits hold up his hands. He is able to match Master Yoda's 2 Menace, which is like Force Absorb, blocking Force Lightning, and energy bolts, that kind of thing. So he's able to match that, and, well, okay, speed, power, what else? Isn't even mentioning the Rise of Skywalker, where he literally, like, takes out half the Rebel fleet without, by the way, touching any of his own, which just takes so much mental combat. I'm not going to talk about it. Okay. Yeah, he's extremely powerful with Force. Thing speaking to his power, because, let's be honest, the Yoda one is kind of a bad point. It's not that showing that he can take on Yoda isn't impressive. It's that Yoda's 2 Menace is impressive is he takes on Palpatine. So, like, it's like a circular logic. But to kind of give more evidence to Palpatine's just intense strength with Force Lightning is looking at the postures that Obi-Wan had and Mace Windu had when blocking Force Lightning. Obi-Wan blocking Dooku's lightning, one hand up, arm outstretched. Kind of just a generally good sword fighting stance. Almost a fencing, not quite a fencing stance. Not like a brutal, like, Form 5 stance, more like a Form 3-2 kind of stance. Basically, not much strength behind it. He was literally about speed and skill. Whereas in Revenge of the Sith, when Sidious is blasting lightning at Mace Windu, we see Mace Windu gripping his lightsaber with 2 hands and pushing as hard as he can against the Force Lightning. Just like that. Just probably instant death. Like, I don't know what people are thinking when they say he's alive. Um, he gets hit by unlimited power, he's dead. Doesn't matter that he fell out a window. Um, yeah, that like the amount of force to make Mace Windu like push that hard. I was gonna say it's not that impressive. It's impressive. Mace Windu's a Jedi and one of the most powerful Jedi. Um, but it's not impressive in terms of force feats. Probably a single Senate pod would have that much, and Sidious was throwing those around just once every 2 seconds. I think I counted it once for a video. I don't remember what it was. You can go watch those. I've done Sidious versus the Daughter of Mortis. I know I've done that one. I've done Sidious versus Snoke. That's the other one I did. And I did Sidious versus Dooku and Ventress. So Sidious is actually one of my most, one of the characters I've done most. 3 for anyone else. Yeah. But anyways, just the amount of force that takes. But compare that to the amount of force that is in the kinetic energy compared to in the heat and the electric. Well, was able to kill Ventress. He probably wasn't going full capacity on Obi-Wan and was going full capacity on, technically he was going on Quinlan Voss, but it hit Ventress nearly instantly. Yeah. But the difference in force is evident between those two scenes, and again, it's kind of circular reasoning, but one would expect Yoda, who has 900 years of experience, to have very strong Judo Menace, and Sidious was able to match that. And beyond that, he's just kind of known for it. Ever since he introduced the power to us in Episode 6, or I suppose introduced it to Star Wars fans in Episode 6, because I'm sure a lot of people watching now first saw Force Lightning in, well, actually probably, yeah, first probably seen it in Episode 2, maybe 6. There's probably a good amount of people who saw it in Episode 6. Even people who grew up, like younger people, relative to average, they've probably a big number of them have seen it in the 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 order. Yeah, Force Lightning is just one of his greatest abilities. But one that I think, one thing about Sidious that often gets left out when talking about his power, and this is because a lot of the people who talk about how powerful he is people who make content like I do about like the Star Wars Versus series, all that kind of thing, where you take two characters and they fight, and that character A compared to character B. You kind of need to know that in order. That's the reason that a lot of that kind of analysis gets put on Sidious to determine how powerful he is. But one thing a lot of people forget when they do that is his power isn't just combative. Obviously, if you're making a video about who would win in a fight, all you need to look at is his combative powers. You need to look at his political powers. That would be like his control of his like expression and tone of voice, all that kind of thing, how convincing he is. His force persuasion, which I'm sure he used a lot. Can't imagine he would not use that. And of course, a big one that really shows his power is, and I think this is probably his most potent ability. Maybe potent isn't the wrong word, but it's the most impressive ability he has, is his Force Cloak. This guy hangs out with Jedi all the time. Like, most people probably never even see a Jedi. Sidious spends probably a time with a Jedi, and probably some of the most powerful Jedi, at least once a week. And there are probably times where he's a council, and they don't sense the dark side in him. This guy is one of the most evil people ever. Like, how can you not sense it? And the answer, logically, with a Force power. I don't know if this is talked about anywhere in canon, but in Legends it's called the Force Cloak, and obviously there's got to be a Force Cloak around him. So, or at least something that works that way, to where you don't block their senses, you disguise your senses. So basically, you seem like just a normal person. So Force Cloak, wow, just to be able to hide yourself from all that. So that's probably one of his greatest abilities. Let's look at his tactics. So, um, obviously, see where he's coming from. If everyone's afraid of the Death Star, why are they going to attack him? But then you look at the second Death Star and you're like, what was this guy thinking? The answer is, he was thinking of a trap. Um, I don't remember where I went over this, but I went over this one time, and it occurred to me that he should have won. Probably had help coming up with the tactics, but the idea of setting a trap with a Death Star and him as the bait, a bold tactic and one that definitely should have worked. The rebellion was completely outnumbered. They had a Death Star, they had a shield, they had the 501st, or well, some of the best troops. I don't know if it's confirmed that it's the 501st. I heard that somewhere. Anyways, he's got some of his best troops down on the Forest Moon. There should be no way that the rebels win, even if they take down the shield. They've got an entire Death Star and just a huge, massive fleet. Luke has no hope of killing him. He barely has a hope of killing Vader. Who Vader wouldn't be able to kill Sidious. Maybe he would. Probably not. I think Sidious just wasn't. It's easy to look at Sidious at the time and be like, oh, he's just an old frail man. Sure, he's got Force lightning, but he can't be that much of a threat. But I would assume that if he was in real danger, he would pull out his lightsaber and just. I don't think he's. Yeah. Anyways. There's no chance that Luke's gonna kill him. There's no chance the rebellion's gonna kill him. There's no chance they even take down the shield to kill him. And yet, they do, beyond all odds. That's not his fault. He had a good plan. It's just the rebellion got lucky. I don't know. Something like that. Obi-Wan says there's no such thing as luck, but clearly they got lucky. They found some Ewoks who helped them take down the shield. Then, I don't know, how did they win the space battle? I don't even know. I guess they just had good flying. They had the Millennium Falcon. That's a pretty good ship, I guess. Good since the beginning. I'm sure he had help from, like, Plagueis. He probably had help from his master and his master and his master and all that. Probably not going back all the way to Bane. There were probably failed attempts to kill the Jedi. Which would be cool to see in the High Republic. Changing gears a bit. That's one of the things I'd definitely like to see in the High Republic is what the Sith of the Rule of Two are doing, and it'd be cool to see them to take out the Jedi. Maybe it's one of the bad guys is secretly like started or funded or whatever, by the Sith. Of course, they fail and they come up with a new strategy because it can't take 1,000 years to come up with that strategy and implement it. I mean, sure, it could take a long time, but if that's a long time. So I'm sure that they had failed attempts, but they covered it up, went back into hiding, came up with a new thing. Sidious probably had help from Plagueis and all that. And not only was the plan, like the idea of it was good, but the execution of it was extremely good. So he had so many contingencies, and yet the contingencies weren't like costing him much. Like oftentimes having with it because you're gonna have to like carry an extra backpack wherever you go. Like contingency in case you get in a crash. You're gonna carry a survival kit everywhere you go. Contingency if you end up not in your car after the crash. You have to like have a survival kit strapped to you at all times. If you drown, you gotta have like a inflatable thing in there. There's some, I don't know how that would work. An inflatable thing, really? Whatever. You can't plan for every contingency, and you also can't safeguard from every bad thing that can happen. He manages to have like a contingency for pretty much everyone. He gets like Caminones on board, and of course Dooku on everyone. He gets all of the Separatists to attack the Republic. He gets the Republic to get this army from like where, like Camino? What? How did this happen? and they were barely suspicious of it until the end of the war, at which point they realize, well, we're doomed anyway. Find a way out from this spiderweb where we can't, we're so dead, aren't we? He comes back, he's like, well, there's nothing I can come up with a plan to take out the Sith when they take over. He's just it's not, he doesn't have the same type of tactical mind as Thrawn would, or Tarkin would, or Admiral Trench would, or like, he doesn't have that kind of mind. And it's not just that the difference between politics and like combat tactics. It's the difference between coming up with a plan to get something done and a plan for like the next 50 years to grow this like tiny little business and make it this giant corporation. Which, yeah, it's like he's a very good long-term planner. But of course, once he achieved his goal, he became emperor. He wiped out the Jedi. He even got Anakin as his apprentice. He got everything. Then he didn't really have any idea what to do with it. I mean, he still had good plans, as I've talked about. His plan with the Battle of Endor was pretty good. His plan with the Death Star was fine, I guess, and it's mostly Tarkin's plan. But he didn't do everything as good as he could. He should have listened to Thrawn more, especially about the TIE Defender. I'm a huge supporter of that. The TIE Defender would have saved the Empire, in my opinion. There's some things he could have done better. He could have, instead of ruling through fear, ruling through support, the same way he was able to start a war, and through doing that, convince everyone, like pretty much everyone, that he should be their emperor, and then just claiming it. He should have done that kind of thing. Maybe not started a war. Maybe start a war. Maybe not. But win the hearts of the population instead of trying to rule them through fear. I think that would be a better approach. But who am I to say? Maybe that would have failed, and people would have said, well, you gotta assert your authority. Like, you gotta rule them by fear. That's how you stay in control. And of course, my reaction to that is, well, of course, that's not right. But it's Sidious. You're not factoring in whether or not something is right. You're just factoring in whether or something keeps your power and, in fact, gets you more power. Or whatever Sidious really wants. Probably mostly just power, control over himself and the Emperor and all his factors, knowledge knowledge is power. Probably just control, I guess. Fear of death, fear of losing control. He doesn't really have loved ones, so not fear of their death. A desire for more wealth and prestige. I don't know. It's interesting to see what characters want based on their actions, especially with the Sith. They've often got some of them have complex motivations. Some of them, like Sidious, are just like, give me power, I want money, and the Empire, yum yum yum. I don't know why I turned that into food, but there's some food for thought. That's how powerful Darth Sidious is. He's got extreme tactical skill, political skill. He uses force powers, that kind of force power, very effectively. Hiding from the Jedi, Force Cloak, that's just so impressive. Obviously, his ability to destroy the Jedi and take over the Senate, transform it into the First Galactic Empire, just extremely impressive. Well done, man. But not only that, there's also his dueling prowess, not just his lightsaber dueling. That is very impressive, but more impressive is his force dueling abilities, his telekinesis, his sensing abilities. Again, I wonder how good of a starfighter pilot he is. That's kind of funny to me. Maybe how it should have managed to do that. That would work. how it should have been. It should totally do that. Or another one, what are they called? Death Battle. They should do that. Those are some channels to know. If you've got suggestions for how they can make that work, that being anyone who wants to make that work, let me know in the chat or the comments. But also, his most powerful Force ability and the one he's most known for is his unlimited power, his Force Lightning. He introduced it in episode 6, originally, technically, chronologically. Count Dooku introduced us to it. But Darth Sidious, Force Lightning is definitely the most powerful. Just look at Revenge of the Sith, when he takes on Yoda, when he takes on Mace Windu's lightsaber. And if you want, you can look at Rise of Skywalker, where he... Never mind. Anyways, Darth Sidious is... Let's compare him to some other people. So, Mace Windu, I would say he's more powerful than... not just in dueling ability, although I think he's slightly better than him there. He had a stronger start than Windu, even though Windu had a stronger finish. I think, well, if you look at it, there's a point where Sidious is holding Windu at saber point, and he could have killed him right there. Not much Windu could have done if Sidious really wanted him dead. And of course, another point to that is Sidious took out Sidious Seaton, Agan Kohler, and Kit Fisto, and Windu couldn't do a thing. But of course, later in the fight, Windu disarms him, and I think he did legitimately do that. He just wasn't quite ready for the ferocity and just the intensity in which Sidious would come out with. He had to feel it out more and get in the groove, so to say, and probably do some kind of focusing with Vapad, making sure he can use it with intensity, but not succumb to the dark side. Whereas Sidious just full on Juyo. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is like the lightsaber forms. There's form 1 through 7. 7 is like super aggressive. It's like the offensive form. And it's split into 2. There's Juyo, which is the original, made for the Sith, by the Sith, all that kind of thing. Jedi don't use it. Actually, I don't know who made it. It was probably the Sith, I would assume. It's Legends. But Windu does mention the other one, which is Vapad. I guess they could technically retcon Vapad to mean something else, but I think it's pretty set in stone that Form 7 is Juyo and Vapad. Vapad is the light side version. It's a lot like Vapad, but it focuses on lighter emotions, more so on your selflessness than your selfishness, and more so on your compassion than your passion, that kind of thing. And justice versus revenge. 2 very similar things, motivators, but one is righteous. It's for everyone. It's not just for yourself. And the other one is a selfish motive, a dark side motive. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. And I think Sidious was just able to overwhelm him, or would have been if he didn't need him alive. But of course, Windu was able to push back against that. But then you get the Force ability.